What's up, booktube? My name is Teal, aka the Book Mage, and today I thought I would go through my top 19 top books to read in 2019. Did that make any sense? Essentially, these are going to be the top 19 books that I want to read in 2019, and I know it's already February, so I'm kind of late with this video. Oh well. So I know a lot of other booktubers have been doing their version of this video. I don't know what is like the standard way to do this, but this is not just like new releases, it's not like most anticipated. This is just like the top books that I want to read, so some of them are coming out and some of them are already published and some of them I already own, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's also no order to this list. It's not like number one is like my most anticipated book of the year or anything like that. It's just in the order that I thought of when I wrote down 19 books, okay? So I'm just gonna get started with the list. So the first book on my top 19 books I want to read in 2019 is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So this book comes out really soon. I've already pre-ordered it, mainly just on the basis that it has dragons, and it's really long. Apparently it's meant to be like 800, maybe 900 pages long. Your girl likes a big book, especially of the fantastical dragon-having variety. Yes, please? So I'm not going to go through like the whole synopsis from the book because it's kind of long, but it's basically supposed to be an enthralling epic fantasy about a world on the brink of war with dragons and the women who must lead the fight to save it. I'm here for this book. I hear this book calling my name. It comes out at the end of this month, so you might see me with a copy real soon. And another big selling point of this book is apparently it has a female-female romantic relationship, and I'm all here for this. Like, so far the book doesn't really sound like it could get any more my taste. So yeah, I'm so hyped for this book. So the second book on my list is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like this is the book of booktube and has been for a while. Like, everyone just raves about and talks about Six of Crows so much, and I have not read it. I have not read anything by Leigh Bardugo, and it's like a booktube sin. It feels like everyone needs to read this book, and you know, it seems like something that would be right up my alley, and I just haven't got around to it yet. 2019 is going to be the year that I read this book. Hopefully I will like it, hopefully it will live up to all the hype. This is a very beautiful special edition, so I better like it. Book number 3 on my list of my top books to read in 2019 is The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. So I do want to read all of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, but there's a lot. But Interview with a Vampire is possibly my favourite book of all time. It's up there with a few others, which is strange considering it's not fantasy and it's written in first person, two things that I tend not to like in books. But yeah, I started this years ago and then I got bogged down in my school exams and I never got to finish it. And considering that the book before this is like so, like, I love it so much, so I really want to hurry up and read this. It's just long overdue for me. It's been sat on my shelf since like 2011, 2012, something like that. So continuing with like this little gothic variety we've got going, the fourth book on my list is The Monk by Matthew Lewis. This is from the late 1700s, I believe. I picked this up in Whitby, the little goth capital of the world, many years ago, and I just never got around to reading it. So it's meant to be a gothic festival of sex, magic and ghastly ghostly violence rarely seen in literature, and when it was published, I believe it shocked audiences at the time, which it just kind of makes me want to read it. It says the audiences were shocked then, and apparently modern audiences are still being shocked by the contents of this book, and so I really want to read it. It's not really like the other books I have in this collection, but you know I don't look it right now, but I have a little dark gothic heart inside of me and I need to read this book. So the fifth book on my list is Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Marsh Glenn. So from what I understand, this book is about necromancers, and there is a girl who works as a necromancer raising the dead, but like only the rich and powerful get to be like brought back to life. But if any of the flesh of the dead is exposed when they've been brought back, they will turn into these weird, horrible monsters called shades. I think that's what kind of starts happening. A lot of shades keep being made somewhere somehow, and I don't really know much more other than like the basic synopsis. I really like worlds about magic, especially dark magic, and again, I believe this book has a female-female romance in it, which is a huge selling point. I feel like it's a pretty interesting story to read. Like, I would like to read about someone who brings people back from the dead for a living. I only heard about this book a few weeks ago, but since then I kind of keep thinking about it in the back of my mind, and so I know that I think I really want to read this book in 2019. So the next books on my list are The Infernal City and Lord of Souls by Greg Keyes. If you have played The Elder Scrolls, which includes Skyrim, in case you didn't know that that was part of The Elder Scrolls, these are the book companions to the world of The Elder Scrolls. I bought these so long ago and they've been sat on my video game shelf and I just haven't got around to them. I really love The Elder Scrolls. It's my second favourite video game universe. If you don't play the games, maybe these would be of absolutely no interest to you. I just really want to read these. I love the games, I love the setting, I love the culture, I love the weird world building. It's a it's like one of the most brilliantly fleshed out worlds you will see in fiction, and so that it's a video game, I really don't think it should be overlooked, and I really need to read these books because I love the world and I want more of it, and I want to know this story. Like, what is this weird floating city? I want to know. Okay, so the 8th book on my list, it is The Fate of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. Or Johansson, I still don't know how to say her name. This isn't one that I'm particularly excited to read, however, I really just want to finish this series. I really just want to get to the end of it. I read The Queen of the Tearling and loved it, and I read The Invasion of the Tearling and kind of hated it. So I just want to know where I will stand on this series. Like, it's 50-50, and this book is going to tell me whether I love this series or end up not liking it in the end. It's pretty big, and I just want to conclude this story and get it out of the way and get it off my TBR. So I don't really want to spoil anything because this is the last book in a series, but it's not so much that I'm excited to read it, I just want to get it out of the way. Like, it's there, it's on my list, it's on my to-do list, I've got to read this book. Okay, from that to something that I am looking forward to, the next book on my list is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, the sequel to Carry On. I am so hype for this book, you cannot imagine. I'm so excited for this book. I think it was meant to be coming in 2020. I believe it might, possibly, probably be coming out this year, if the rumours are correct. I really enjoyed Carry On, and I'm so excited to see the sequel, the continuation. Like, I get to get those characters back, I get to see them. I am going to pre-order it, I'm going to make sure that I'm reading it on day one, I'm probably going to marathon the whole thing in a day. Like, my little reader brain just wants to devour this story, and I'm hyped for this book. I'm unbelievably hyped for Wayward Son. Okay, the next books on my list are the remainder of the Dragon Age series of books. So that's The Calling by David Gader, Asunder by David Gader, The Masked Empire by Patrick Weeks, and Last Flight by Liane Merciel. I hope I pronounced all of those names right. So, like with the Elder Scrolls books, these are books based on a video game world, and this one is my favourite video game world, the world of Dragon Age. These kind of follow the events of the game. The first one, The Stolen Throne, is, again, potentially my favourite book of all time. I'm not sure. Like, there's a lot of books vying for, like, my #1 spot, but, like, that's one of them. But yeah, again, Dragon Age is, like, my favourite thing ever. It's my favourite piece of media ever. It doesn't matter that it's a video game, it's one of the most beautifully crafted stories I have ever encountered. Mainly just the first game. The second game was brilliant. The third one, the story kind of like missed me a bit, but I still love the universe, and I really want to read these 4 books so that I actually know the backgrounds to everything. I think some things in here have kind of been spoiled for me, especially in the third game, but it's fine. I'm not bitter about it or anything. So those were the 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th book that I want to read this year. So the next book on my list to read this year is The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. This book has been on my radar for a while. I haven't really seen any other booktubers talk about it. I think there are some specific like fantasy booktubers that have mentioned this book, but your girl loves fantasy. So I'm going to read the first part of the synopsis for you, and it is: They say that the Thorn of Camor can beat anyone in a fight. They say he steals from the rich and gives to the poor. They say he's part man, part myth, and mostly street corner rumour, and they are wrong on every count. That, I'm drawn in. I'm drawn in. You have my attention. I believe the main character is some sort of thief or rogue, and I have such a soft spot for books about thieves and rogues. I'm here for their stories. I'm so ready to read them all. From what I've seen, I've heard good things about this series. I don't think the whole thing is out yet. I think it's meant to be like 7 books, and I think either 3 or 4 are out at the moment, but I would really like to devote myself to a nice, long, ongoing series, and it's just calling my name. Something about this book is just calling to me. I really, really, really want to get to this series in 2019, and maybe the next book after it, and maybe the next book after that, and maybe if the 4th book is actually out, then maybe that one as well. We'll see. Book number 15 on my list is The Raven Tower by Ann Leckie. So this is one that is not out yet, but I believe it comes out right at the end of February. And just let me read you the synopsis for this, and you will understand why I'm like, yes? Listen, a god is speaking. My voice echoes through the stone of your master's castle, the castle where he finds his uncle on his father's throne. You want to help him. You cannot. You are the only one who can hear me. You will change the world. Bitch, I want to be a part of this story. I want to know what is going on. So I believe it's something along the lines of, I think there's some sort of like god protecting the kingdom, and the god is called the Raven, but then it's something like right when the people need the god the most, the god falls silent, and like what's going on? Don't know. But guess what? I want to know. So yeah, this is one of the few books on the list that isn't out yet, but I'm ready for them to be out. Like, I'm ready for this book. So the next book on my list is, of course, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I know, how can I have not read this book yet? I feel like this is the other book that booktubers seem to be crazy about, and I really, really hope that when I come to read it, it lives up to the hype. I feel like I just couldn't go another year, especially now that I'm on booktube, without having read this book. Everyone seems to love it. A lot of booktubers seem to say that it's like one of their favourite books of all time, and I want to know why. I want to know why everyone loves this book. One of my biggest problems at the moment though is actually getting a copy, because I don't know why, but for some reason they had like this beautiful blue cover with this beautiful moth for the UK cover, and then for some reason they've changed it to this gross, disgusting, like weird off grey green blur. It just looks so blur, and I hate it, and I don't want it, but I also don't want to pay like £200 for one of the blue hardback editions. So how I'm gonna read this book, because there's no way that I'm having that weird grey-green monstrosity anywhere near my bookcase at all, ever. It's not happening. It's not happening. So that's part of my excuse why I don't have this book yet, but I'm determined in 2019 to somehow acquire myself a copy that doesn't make my eyes want to bleed, and I'm gonna read it, and hopefully I'm gonna love it. I really hope I'm not disappointed. I hope that everyone's praise is justified and accurate, and that I love this book as much as everyone else, because there's got to be a reason why everyone loves this book so much, and I want to know. Let me in on the secret. Next, book number 17 is The Gutter Prayer by Gareth Hanrahan. I found out about this book like this week, just browsing Amazon for books. I think it's a fairly new release. From what I know about it, it's based in this ancient, like, fantastical city, and the whole world has sort of gone to crap, I think, and like dark things start to happen, unrest starts to stir, and the only 3 people that can stand against like this coming darkness are like these 3 thieves. Again, with the thieves, I have a soft spot for those kind of characters. So apparently it's full of like conspiracies and secrets and plot twists, and like it seems like the kind of book that could potentially be one of my favourites if it's good, and a lot of the reviews say that it's written fantastically, so it's way up there on like my little mental TBR for 2019. I really, really do want to get to this book pretty soon. Supposedly it's set in a world of dark gods and dangerous magic, and just, you know, just keep saying words like this to me. It's all I want to hear. Okay, book number 18 on my list is The Binding by Bridget Collins. This book, the thing that captured my attention is the beautiful, beautiful binding of this book, which I mean, it is called The Binding, so I don't know much about this book other than the main character, I think, is quite a poor farmer's son, and one day he gets a request to go and be the apprentice of a bookbinder. And in this world, if you want to like erase a memory or a bad experience from your mind, something like that, you can go to a bookbinder and they make a book out of your memory and then you don't remember it. See, that's the gist I'm getting from the synopsis. But then one day the main character, while working on these books, finds one with his name on it and he doesn't know why. That premise is immediately drawing me in. I love books, if you can't tell. I love book binding. Book binding is actually a skill that I really want to learn, and I've sort of been looking at little book binding courses. Ancient manuscripts and how they were made and put together and maintained was actually one of the courses that I took at university, so I really love books and the physical manuscript. So I feel like this story is coming from like a huge point of interest for me. Apparently it's meant to be dark and beautiful and potentially have some sort of gothic vibes in there, which again, speaking directly to my little heart, I would really like to read this book. Again though, kind of like Strange the Dreamer, the cover that I was seeing everywhere all over Instagram is possibly the most beautiful book cover I've ever seen in my entire life. But guess what? It's not the book cover that you get if you buy it. This beautiful book cover was like, I don't know, I think you had to be sent it as a promotion by the publisher because it's a hardback proof copy and it was never for sale. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm not popular enough to have friends in high places in the publishing world to get one of these books, but I really want one because it's so beautiful. And I know the mass market hardback like is kind of pretty underneath, but it's not the same. The whole thing that attracted me to this book was like the beautiful imagery on the front, and it's just replaced with like a shitty line doodle on the one that I'm gonna get, and it hurts my heart. Like, I want the pretty version. Please tell me I'm not the only one that like hates when stuff like this happens. Like, how am I supposed to get it if there was never a chance for me to ever have it? Ugh. But regardless, I really want to read this book. This story sounds so intriguing to me. This could potentially be a book that I just devour in one sitting. And the last one, book number 19. The last book on my list is The Last Herald Mage by Mercedes Lackey. So this is actually a binder of 3 other books, which I believe are quite old books, and then they've just been like put together to be like one long story. So I think the 3 books bound up into like this one super long one are Magic's Pawn, Magic's Promise and Magic's Price. The book follows a young man who discovers he has some sort of very powerful kind of magic, and he goes off to get training or something. And I think the level to how powerful he is, but with how little control he has over his own magic, is sort of putting him and everyone else and possibly the land in peril. That's what it seems like. And I do know, I believe that this book has LGBT characters. I don't know if it has a male-male actual romance in it, but I do know that one of the main characters is gay. So I think this is a fantasy epic that was originally written in the 1980s and 90s, which is another thing that kind of makes me want to read it. I feel like there's a lot of old fantasy and like much older series that have sort of like fallen under the radar, so I feel like they may have been missed for a lot of people, and I don't want to miss them. I want to read them. And the premise sounds really interesting. It sounds quite like basic as a premise, like a guy discovers he has magic and it threatens like the safety of himself and his friends because he doesn't know how to control it, and so he needs training. But like, I feel like the LGBT aspect of this book, especially because it's quite an old book, is pretty intriguing. So I actually really want to pick up and give this series a go in 2019. So yeah, that's it. Those are my top 19 books that I would like to read in 2019. You can let me know your opinions in the comments down below. Is there anything amazing coming out soon that maybe I didn't mention and that I probably don't know about that you really feel like you should recommend to me? Because like, please do. And are any of the items that are on my list also on your TBR for this year? Again, I would be very interested to know. But with that said, I feel like this video is at an end now. I don't really have anything else to say, so I guess that's it. Bye!